Please help me welcome Autumn Zaminsky as she shares her journey as a KPD member with you today. You're a superhero. That's right.
Sorry, hello. I'm always slightly nervous. I'm used to 6- and 7-year-olds, and they usually...
We have to say, no.
Well, thank you for having me here today. As they said, I am Autumn Zaminsky now. I just got married this summer on July 13th. So I'm kind of in this transition. I'm Autumn Proctor Zaminsky for the moment, and then eventually I think we'll drop the Proctor. But I'm here to speak with you today, basically to thank you for all that you do and to just show you how all of your hard work and dedication has led me to this point in my life where I'm at now. But in order to understand that, we need to connect all the dots of my life so you can kind of see how I am here now. So, my story today is actually going to start with my father. And on April 3rd, 1989, my father, John Proctor, held me in his arms for the first time. He was just 24 years old. It would be just a short 24 months that our family, as we knew it, would stay together. Now at just 26 years old, my dad was a manager at Burger King. He became a single father to 2 daughters when my mother left. So my dad put this fork in the road and he has to decide what to do. He has a choice, essentially. He can say, this is not a great situation, and dump us off, and, chuck on that way, or he can take those cards that he had been dealt and decide that he could raise us to the best of his ability and be the best at it he knew how. And that's what he did, luckily, for me. Sorry. So, my dad's taught me so many great lessons in life.
You can do this.
My dad's one of those amazing people. He's like one of the underdogs in life. And he taught me so many amazing lessons in life. And, he was always running around short-staffed. A babysitter would say they were sick and couldn't watch. So I hung out a lot at Burger King. I love watching the training videos. While I was there with him, I got to see him interact with the people that worked for him. And I think that was one of the most valuable lessons that he ever taught me in my life, was I would see him work with these people. And it didn't matter their education, their race, their size, anything. My dad always treated everyone with respect, and he made everyone feel so good about what they were doing. And that's one thing I've always carried with me in my life. So my dad's my, number one hero. So growing up, my dad would always say, Autumn, you're either going to be a teacher or a weather lady. And he always said, you have the hair of a weather lady, but he would always catch me teaching my stuffed animals for ABCs, and so that's, where the teacher part came in. I always had a lot of great teachers, and I think that influenced me definitely. But even at a young age, I can remember being 9 or 10, my dad's birthday parties for different events, and people would say, Autumn, what do you think you want to be when you grow up? And I would look at them very confidently and tell them, I will be a teacher. And it's, not in my head. So, I was always very confident in that role. It's kind of strange, even since, very young age, I naturally felt drawn to small children and just being a part of them. So I was always very sure, but all of that sureness and happiness kind of would come crashing down around us again. So on August 11, 2001, my oldest sister died in a car accident on her way to the beach with some friends. My sister had also taught me so many life lessons. Our dad, again, is the key point there, but I think every little sister thinks their big sister is cool, but I thought mine was especially cool. She was smart and brave, and she was never afraid to be herself, and that was the most important thing that she taught me. And I don't think I realized it then, but even through college, I was always facing adversity. I was kind of the overachiever, the one who raised their hand probably more than people wanted to. And I don't know how to make that choice. Did I want to be cool and, fit in with that? Or did I want to be the best educator I can be? And I didn't care if I sat alone. And so, seeing her always be that strong person who didn't care what people thought of her really helped me in my life. So for the next 2 years, I'm going through my teenage years and already a hot mess from that. I'm dealing with this loss and, if any of you have, you've all been 12 to 14, if any of you know 12 to 14-year-old girls in general, it's just a mess. So I kind of was in I guess you could say some sort of depression. I was sad. I just felt lost. I couldn't figure out how to find my way back to this happy place. And I remember waking up one morning, it was very weird, I felt my sister with me, and I asked myself, was I living at this time a life that she would be proud of me for? Was I happy? Was I engaging myself with friends? Was I doing things that I loved? And I knew that answer was no. So I knew I had to do something to kind of get back into my routine and start to feel good again. And that is when, at her high school, I realized that they had a child care program in the high school. And it was for students who thought they might want to be education majors once they got to college. So I enrolled in that class, and it was probably one of the best things I ever did for myself. I slowly started to feel myself again, and then by my senior year, I was the president of the Future Educators Club. And there's when I knew in my heart, teaching is what I am meant to do in this life. So, I graduated from high school, and I told myself I'm going to go to college, I'm going to become a teacher, I'm going to do it for myself, I'm going to do it for my dad, and I'm going to do it for my sister, and no one was going to stop me. So, I enrolled in college, and I tried to enroll in every education class they would I could take as a freshman, and there are not many. I was discouraged. I even tried to sneak a few in, but they noticed. So, and I was loving what I was learning, and I actually did. I had a couple methods courses, in the beginning, just some basic things, and I was feeling really inspired by what I was learning, and I knew I was headed in the right direction, but I was just missing something. Basically, I was feeling like there was still a place that I could find where I felt I belonged. I was looking and searching for that place. Something with a little more opportunity, a place to learn, be with people who had similar interests as me, and that's when I actually transferred to Penn State. And as a junior, I was sitting in one of my classes, and I was talking to my professor about how I love professional development and how I'd love to learn more, and she looked at me and said, you need to join KDP. So thank you, Dr. Key, wherever she is now, because I went right down to the education department, and I grabbed myself a registration form, and I took my checkbook out of my purse, and I had no idea that day that $42 would be the best investment in my life. So finding KDP was essentially when that sparkle and happiness really started to return for me. I just felt at home, and the emotion inside of me was, I can't explain it, I was giddy. And essentially, you can even ask my colleagues, I just really wanted to shout up and down and say, I love KDP. Bless my colleagues, because I was, I'm sure, over the top, a perfectionist. I wanted as many professional development events. We had to fundraise, and we had to do all of those things. So I'm sure that they were a little over, they weren't so happy about having me there. But honestly, honestly, I feel bad for our Student Government Association. They give you money and help you with trips and things, and they would always send me in. I was the go-to person for that. So I'd go in and I'd have every document, like Excel spreadsheet, ready to go. And every time they would try to pick it apart and say, well, why is this conference important? And every time I walked out of there, I held a check in my hand. So I was very happy about that. They actually paid for all 11 of us to stay at Congo in 2011. So I was. So as I spoke before, my father raised me, and money just wasn't something that was abundant in our household. It was, necessities. My dad worked for everything we had. I remember like the drive-in movies was the biggest thing. We would pop popcorn before we went, just because that's what, we had to do to get by. So my dad had always taught me that you should never be jealous of what someone has or what they have accomplished. Jealousy gets you nowhere fast, he would say. However, hard work and determination gets you there or even farther. So that's something I've always carried with me. But I'm at Penn State, and I just transferred, so I lost some of my courses. They didn't transfer. I was taking 6 to 8 courses. Not all of my loans covered my tuition, so I was working 2 jobs, and I felt like my bank account was always low, but the stress was always high, just trying to figure out how I was going to make every bill work. And that's when Dr. Mary Napoli, she was our counselor. She said to me, you need to go on the KDP website and you need to apply for some scholarships. So I did. And, it was summertime and I was stressing out and I was trying to figure out how to pick up a 3rd job. And I checked the mail, and in the mailbox was my very first scholarship letter, and it was the Donna Gale Shaw Scholarship. So,
Weren't my dollars real well?
So I opened up the letter, and of course no one's home, and I'm so excited, and I'm choking up and down, and all I could think of was Donna and how I just wish I could give her a hug. And I was so just moved by that moment, and it felt like, those situations where you're like, how am I going to get through this? KDP was there at that moment. So that was a big deal for me. At Convo 2011, I just accepted my chapter officer award, and Donna approached me, and we kind of got to do our group hug, and we felt, so we got to I got to talk to her for a minute and just get to meet her. And I think the part that really moved me was that she understood what I had gone through to get to this point, and then the fact that she was willing to help me. So that was my initial first contact with KDP, where I felt like, this is, okay, I thought I felt home, but now I know I'm at home. So, thank you.
My pleasure.
And then I have this wrong in my notes, but I'm just going to go with this. So on the last night of Convo, Nathan Bond was there, and I thought he introduced the National Student Teacher of the Year. It was the Teacher of the Year, but in my brain it was the National Student Teacher of the Year. So the lady walked up onto the stage, and one of my best friends was sitting next to me, and she was talking about her experiences, and I turned and looked at her and I said, I'm going to win that award. And we both just kind of laughed because we know that I'm the dreamer type. So leaving Convo in 2011, I was inspired and moved even more. So plus my colleagues again, because I came back president. They elected me even after only knowing me for 2 semesters, and I felt very honored by that. And we kind of made a honey-do list of what we wanted to do in our chapter, all the things that we thought went really well before, and the things that we felt were still needed within our chapter. So we went to work. One of the first things we did was we set up a professional development opportunity with 2 different authors, and they came in, and we even opened it up to our entire actual community. And we had teachers coming in, and we had a great response. So I was really happy with that. And then my true passion, which is the community service piece, was really important to our chapter. We did some local food drives, and then we also made breakfast at the Ronald McDonald House for the families there, and that was very rewarding for us. And then the best part came when it was time for Literacy Alive. We were able to do some book bags for the children who are in the hospital, and I think that was very touching to all of us to be able to be a part of that. So all of these things, all of these KDP events are really setting me up for this next venture in my life, which was student teaching. And I entered student teaching, and I said I have two goals. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to learn something from my mentor teacher, and I'm going to teach the students. But what I realized was I was going to learn more from my students than I was ever going to teach them. So in that very short amount of time, I learned that in a room full of 5-year-olds, nothing is kept a secret. They taught me how to laugh at myself and how to be silly, just enjoy those moments in teaching. But then they taught me that the best moments in teaching are those unplanned, unexpected moments where something happens and it's just so right, and they click and you click, and literally you could cry because you don't even know how it happened, it just did. So I started writing my application for the National Student Teacher of the Year award, and I wanted to express how much that experience had solidified my belief that I was born to teach, and all of the things that I had learned, and it was hard. But I did my best, and I put it off in the mail, and I told myself that, you know, there's 609 student chapters, and I'm one person from my chapter, so my odds, okay, not the best odds, but I decided that winning wasn't what mattered. I had a great experience, and I knew that I was doing the right thing with my life. So for me, I was already in a place where winning was right there in front of me. But I did not sleep well until July. So around July, I'm getting nervous because August is fastly approaching, and I want a job more than anything in the world. And I got a call, actually, from the principal where I graduated from, the school district when I graduated. And he said, you know, we saw your application, we'd love for you to come in. So I went in, and I actually, my whole time I was in, before I went into this interview, I was thinking how I really wanted to be at the school where I student taught. I thought, you know, I'm familiar with this place, this is where I want to be. But the moment I walked back into the doors where I came from, and I was sitting in that room, I felt like I could cry just because I knew this place was home. So the interview, I felt went great, and they were smiling, and I was smiling. And I left, and I felt, okay, I'm good, I got this. And on my way home, I got a call, and my dad was sick, and I had to go to be with him to help him through surgery. So that was on Monday, and they wanted to do second round interviews on Tuesday, and I could not make it back for second round interviews. So they said, we're sorry, but we have to move on to the other applicants. So I did not get that job, and I was devastated. My poor dad, he was sick, and I'm bawling, and it was just a little bit of a mess. But I pouted for about 2 days, and then I told myself that this was not the end for me, and that these people had to realize they chose the wrong person. So he calls this principal. I'm working at the daycare, and I'm feeling defeated because I'm picturing myself working at this daycare for the rest of my life, and I love daycare, but it just wasn't my dream for myself. So I am hoping that there's some miracle that will happen, and he calls me. It was nap time, thank goodness. And I answer the phone, and he says, listen, I had a teacher who moved to a different district. We have actually another first grade position open, and I want you to come back for second round interviews. I, of course, was ecstatic. I went home, I told my husband, I don't care what I have to say to these people. Like, they are going to know I need this job, and I want this job. So I was really excited for that. And the very next day, I'm leaving the daycare, and I pull into the gas station, and my phone kind of makes, you know, the chime sound, and I have an email. It's from Kristen, and she tells me that I was one of the top 4 finalists for the National Student Teacher of the Year award. And I figured, well, hey, 1 in 4, that's winning. So I took the email, and I forwarded a copy of my updated resume and the email Kristen sent me to the principal of that school district. Because I really wanted him to understand. So I scheduled my second interview, and I went in, and my favorite part about the interview was, I just love my principal, Mr. Stroud. He's an amazing man, but when we sat down, he asked me, okay, so tell me what KDP is, because, you know, it's all over my resume. He wants to know, what is this place? Like, come on, tell me about it. And I think he was so happy that I didn't just say, oh, it was a club, and we made, centers, and we made crafts. I actually talked to him about, I went to this professional development, and I learned this, and now I'm a better teacher because I experienced this. And I could just tell by the smile on his face that he was happy and the job was mine, at least I hoped. So a long 4 days later, I got a call, and he told me that I was going to be their new first grade teacher, so that was very exciting. And then I think it wasn't even a week later that Kristen emailed me again, and then I found out I was the national student teacher. So there's KDP at all those moments, all those turning points, where I'm not so sure about myself. I feel like KDP was there at each one of those points to kind of remind me that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing, and it's always been that little leg up, that boost that I needed to just get to that next place. And I think that's why I always say it. I love KDP. I need a shirt. So now I'm a first grade teacher, and I was very excited, but I walked into my classroom and I looked around, and all I saw were desks, some chalkboards, math manipulatives, and then there was some curriculum there. But I didn't see any books. There were no word work games, no centers, nothing for a writing center, and again, I'm faced with a dilemma. So now that I'm making all this money, I had to go down to the store and spend it. And I just watched a documentary the other day, and they said that the average first-year teacher spends $3,000 setting up her first classroom. And I'm going to go with that number because I don't think my husband would be happy if he knew how much I actually spent. Only with tax. So now I realize this is before the kids even walked in yet. They haven't even walked in the doors and they've spent this much money. So October comes around and my husband says, sweetheart, you realize that you don't spend every paycheck you make on your classroom. And I knew he was right, but it was so hard. I love my kids, and each week I kept finding, I need this, I need another center, I need more books for them to listen to on tape, I need more books in general. And so I thought, KDP has got to be able to help me again. They've helped me every other point in my life. So I went on the website, and it was literally just like that. I typed in new teacher grant, and it popped up right in front of me, and I thought, okay, here we go. So I applied for the teacher grant for literacy centers, and I think you know what comes next. More shouting and dancing. I love KDB. So some say my classroom's a little bit over the top. Some say it looks like it came off Pinterest, and some say that it's perfect, and I agree with all of them. Our class is our place. It's our place for the students to come and learn. They can sit down with a good book. They can work with manipulatives in the corner, the math corner. They can really enjoy the space that we work in, and that was my goal. I wanted them to walk in and feel like they were at home and feel comfortable. So that's what I tried to do, and let's face it, school's the best place to be, so I'm glad that they're happy in our room. And that's thanks to KDP again. So my mission for the rest of my time with KDP is to really encourage those pre-service teachers to get involved, first of all. Just start by going to something. Then they need to believe in themselves, because I would have never thought that somebody who only knew me for 2 semesters would have voted me to be their president in my chapter, but they did. They saw my hard work, and that changed my life. So I really want them to understand that you have to believe in yourself and then dare to dream, because I never thought that I would be where I am right now. But because I did, Katie